I have chosen to focus on Unit 3, Area of Study 2, which is Food Choice, Health and Wellbeing. So a little bit of an overview. The unit focuses on food-related decisions made by consumers in everyday life. It is designed to enable students to gain an understanding of the role of food in social, cultural and physical needs. Unit 3 comprises of 2 areas of study, and as I said earlier, I'll be focusing on area of study 2, which is food choice, health and wellbeing. So Unit 3 brings together ideas from behavioural, economics, psychology and social anthropologies, based on current ideas and programs regarding sustainable behaviour, change in food habits in Australia. So on completion of this unit, students should be able to explain and analyse factors affecting food access and choice, analyse the influences that shape an individual's food values, beliefs and behaviours, and also apply practical skills to create a range of healthy meals for children and families. So covered in area of study 2 are social factors that influence food. So these are things like income, education, location, accommodation, available time, and cultural norms, food identity in different social contexts, food marketing, and the role of media in relation to the response they elicit when making choices about food. The modelling, exposure and repetition for establishing healthy diets and nutritional meal patterns, importance of a good diet for health, and disadvantage and poor nutrition. So a little bit about the rationale behind Area of Study 2. So based on Vic Health findings, philosophies and actions, key findings show that most Australians have enough to eat and recognise the importance of a good diet for health, but are not eating the right foods. So those from disadvantaged backgrounds bear the greatest part of poor nutrition, and enjoying the benefits of a better diet is not just down to individual choice and willpower. Some practical activities for area of study 2 that could be done are cooking, demonstrations, creating and responding to design briefs, dietary analysis, food sampling and taste testing, sensory and product analysis, and scientific experiments. So the practical component of this unit enables students to understand food science terminology and to apply specific techniques to the production of everyday food that facilitates the establishment of nutritious and sustainable meal patterns. So some possible assessment tasks for area of study 2. So they are pretty much created based on a range of practical activities related to the functional properties of food. So assessment could be one or combination of the following: written report, media analysis, research inquiry, case study analysis, an annotated visual report, an oral presentation or a practical demonstration, or even a video or a podcast. So now I'm going to talk about my micro-teaching activity. So the year level that I have decided to cater my lesson towards is a Year 11 Food Technology class. A little bit about differentiation in my lesson and my classroom. So I want to tailor my instructions to meet individual needs by providing different students with different avenues to learning, involving acquiring content, processing, constructing or making sense of ideas, and developing teaching materials and assessment measures so that all students within the classroom can learn effectively regardless of differences in their abilities. So some examples I could use in my lesson: think, pair and share strategy. So this is asking students to individually think about a given topic or answer a specific question. After this, I will pair students together to discuss their results and findings. And finally, each pair will share their ideas with the rest of the class and open the floor for further discussion. Another example could be grouping students with similar learning styles. So this is encouraging collaboration through common work and thinking practices. So those students that have similar learning styles can all be grouped together to work through a question, and then those that obviously have a different type of learning style would also be grouped together. This could help them bounce ideas off one another and encourage discussion. Another example would be creating different levels of work for differing abilities. So this would mean that I would always have different levels of work available for students. So those that perform at a higher level would have activities they could go on to perhaps once they have finished the set work, and this would give them a little bit of a challenge. And those that find the work maybe a little bit difficult could either work with somebody else, or they could I could have an activity set up that breaks down the activity further, so they could do it in dot point form, or they could do it through drawing or through research, or whatever learning style they require. So some things I will do during my lesson to cater for different learning needs, styles, and any learning difficulties. So for those that have difficulty learning by listening, before the lesson I will ensure that I state the objective, providing a reason for listening. Teach the mental activities involved in listening, so make sure that I encourage things like note-taking, questioning and reviewing, and also provide study guides, worksheets and demonstrations. During the lesson, I will provide visuals via the board as well as demonstrations. Have the student try to close their eyes and visualize the information. Have the student take notes and use coloured markers to highlight important parts. Provide written and oral directions. Have the student repeat the directions just so it is clear and they know exactly what they have to do. And when giving directions to the class, I'll ensure that I leave a pause between each step so students can carry out the process in their mind, and also try to shorten listening time required so that students have more time doing rather than just sitting and listening to instructions. In terms of learning needs, it's really important to realise that all students learn differently. So Howard Gardner's theory of multiple intelligence really takes this into account. So it highlights that all students in the classroom have abilities and learning strengths in more than one intelligence. So the multiple intelligence theory aligns with pedagogies for differentiated and personalised learning. So the intelligences highlighted in Howard Gardner's theory are linguistic, so word smart, logical, mathematical, number reasoning, spatial, so that's like picture smart, bodily kinesthetic, so body smart, musical, interpersonal, which is people smart, intrapersonal, so that's self smart, and naturalist, so that's nature smart. So when planning for my lesson, it's really important to take all these learning styles into account and try to involve a few different learning styles within the activity. So when planning for my lesson, it's really important to also take into account interests, so what students' current interests are, and that way they will be more engaged and involved in the lesson. So some of the interests that I have taken into account to plan for my lesson are technology, so anything technology based. Students are very technologically savvy, so when they are required to do something involving technology, they usually are more inclined to do it and enjoy doing it. Hands-on and practical activities, so instead of sitting at a desk and writing notes from the board, doing things, so getting involved. Taste testing, students love to taste test different foods, and also research tasks, so things that require them to go off on their own and research something they are interested in. That is also a big interest in my classroom. How I will make my lesson engaging. So one of the most important things I will do is cater to the interests of my class. I will ensure that my lesson is engaging by making sure that it is hands-on and practical, as well as incorporating technological devices and hands-on learning. So some pedagogy strategies that I'll use throughout my lesson: Bloom's taxonomy. So this is a hierarchy model used to classify educational learning objectives into levels of complexity. So specifically, I will get the students to create and develop ideas, as well as analysing and applying information to their everyday life. There's a little bit more about Bloom's taxonomy on the next page. So my lesson overview. So this will be our first lesson covering area of study 2. So to begin with, students will investigate items they regularly eat using the Food Switch app. So this app involves technology, which is a really big interest in my classroom. To determine how well these foods meet the design brief, students will also be given a design brief. They will then be required to identify a range of snacks that are healthier choices in regards to lower amounts of specific nutrients. So for example, salt, kilojoules, saturated fat, total sugar, compared with the items they have scanned. After this, students will move on to create a storyboard of food moods. So this identifies specific foods and links them to foods they consume when they are feeling a particular way. So students can use resources such as the Australian Guide to Healthy Eating or the Food Switch app to evaluate any patterns within their moods and the types of foods they consume.